All right, welcome back, everybody. My name is Naboulsi. Thank you for jumping on another episode of our AI series here at Hey Huzi. Today, we're tackling a question everyone's talking about, but maybe is afraid to ask. What happens to our jobs, Eric? Like, what is AI coming for our career? Should we be worried? Should we be excited? How do we prepare for a workforce that's being transformed and kind of overrun by AI? And I just want to welcome Eric again. He's the founder and CEO of Huzi AI. If you haven't been here before, thank you for showing up. Eric's working with companies that are implementing AI, which means that he's seeing real time how AI is changing work, displacing some roles, creating others, transforming almost everything. And this is the conversation about the future of work in the AI age. So I just want to get right into the nitty gritty about it. You ready to talk about some jobs, Eric?
The nitty gritty, yeah. I got to look up where that saying even originated from. By the way, I've said
Look
that
it
my
up.
whole life. I
Look
don't
it
even
up.
know where it came from. The nitty gritty, it has some sort of funny origin that I just never even thought about until just now.
Yeah, man. Folklore, idioms, all of that. I love where these like little weird sayings come from.
I'm actually gonna ask Huzi while you're doing this, while we're starting.
Do it.
Where did the term nitty gritty originate? That's just how my brain works, man. It's like I love knowing things, and it's just fun that you can have a more holistic view of the world and actually understand the origin of things and where they work and where they don't work. So,
Yeah,
oh,
and
good
I think
morning, good morning,
good
bud.
morning. Yeah, and I think it's so much cooler to be able to use a product like Kuzi versus just Googling because you could really, you're not just searching for answers, you're also getting a complex kind of a visceral 360-degree view because, one article could say this, the other articles could say that, and, whatever you pick up from Google, that now becomes your gospel. And that's not always true, right? So it's nice to be able to do something like that nowadays.
Well, it's interesting because, of course, one of the controversial theories I'm just looking it up here of where the term nitty gritty comes from is from the slave trade. Actually,
Interesting.
there's a theory that basically posits that the term referred to as the debris left in the bottom of slave ships, like the little nits or the little lice eggs.
Oh,
Isn't that crazy? I've been saying it, had no
that's
idea that that's a
bizarre.
possible. Yeah, yeah. So there we go. There's our fun fact of the day. I don't know how fun that one is, but it's good to know when you're using terms like where they came from. So that's one possible origin.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that, but I
I
could
don't
be
like
wrong.
it either. I think I'll stop using it. Actually, as a matter of fact. On that note, let's talk about jobs in AI.
Seriously, I think the most important is being able to separate the panic from reality. I think we're in a state of panic. Everybody's kind of freaking out, not really sure where things are heading. I had a conversation with a buddy of mine that works at a relatively large corporation. Now he's high up there. He's definitely C-suite, but even he was just like, if I don't get into this AI stuff and really master it and be able to apply it, I think that even I'm at a concern for my position and where I'm going to be in the next 10, 12 years. And, he's in his late 50s and, he's planning for retirement in the next 5 to 10 years. He's definitely a workaholic, but now he's feeling that his job could be in jeopardy. So, I guess my question is like, have you seen like real roles? Like, what are the biggest roles that you found that have been kind of either transforming or completely being eliminated in the
Okay.
job world?
Yeah, this is one of those subjects that I hope when people listen that at the core of all my opinions or what I'm thinking about is, sympathy and empathy for just humanity in general.
Yeah.
So if I say something is just a brash, like sort of cut to the tax thing, it doesn't mean that I hope something happens or doesn't happen. I hope everybody listens to this has a wonderful, happy, productive, profitable, wonderful, healthy life, right?
Hmm.
But there are some changes happening, Mo. So on that note, I think it's important that we really lean into the idea of the lump of labor fallacy, first of all. And that is the idea, like I think it was in the late 1800s, 1890s or something like that, where basically there was a premise before that, oh my gosh, when the Industrial Revolution happens or the printing press happens or the buggy or the photograph or anything happens, it displaces and essentially just replaces that chunk of work, the chunk of labor that's necessary to keep the economy going and to keep our society rolling and those sorts of things. Come to find out, the lump of labor fallacy basically says there's no such thing as a finite amount of work that needs to be done in a society. There's not a finite like container of work that needs to be done. And so if you replace people with AI, then that just removes the amount of work that can be done by human beings. Come to find out that what actually happens is that when a new technology enters a society, especially if that new technology decreases costs or increases efficiency or increases access to something, then it increases the flow of money, it increases the flow of capital, it actually reduces expenses so people can invest in more things, and actually increases the job market and increases opportunity over time, right? So there is definitely transitions that happen, and we should talk about the difference between a short-term transition and the bumpiness that happens in one of these sorts of revolutions or evolutions. But eventually, always throughout all of humanity, and I can't see this changing, the lump of labor fallacy is something that we should really kind of understand, that just because AI takes a job doesn't mean that removes work that needs to be done in society. It generally creates some sort of other opportunity that we don't even understand yet. Maybe it increases a job in some sort of leisure opportunity or art opportunity or education opportunity or a different sort of technician opportunity. Like at Huzi, I hired somebody to a job that did not exist 2 years ago. Like this type of work did not exist 2 years ago. It's an AI integration specialist. It did not exist a couple of years ago. This is a new job that got created because of this new technology. So I just would like people to, like, first of all, just lower the sort of like idea that AI will take jobs. Yes, but it might take jobs that we just don't need to do anymore. And there will be other jobs that maybe is an elevated position that we get to do instead of the ones that we have to do now. Does that make sense, buddy?
Absolutely. Yeah. I try to look at like what is it that makes a position vulnerable, and not just specific to AI in general. Is it something that becomes repetitive? Is it pattern based? Is it data heavy? The things that I remember when data entry was replaced by interns, when data entry used to be a coveted job for secretaries and, executive assistants to, CEOs and of corporations and what have you back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And now it's become a thing where you really can just either offload it to a third-party vendor of some kind, a virtual assistant, or now using artificial intelligence, using specific tools that you could leverage and deploy that. So do you find that some of the primary vulnerabilities for a position is those kinds of like pattern recognition, being able to understand that, is it something that's repetitive? Is it data heavy? Is it something that can be replicated with ease? No, not to say that it doesn't cause a certain, or it doesn't, it's not lacking a certain je ne sais quoi, right? Or intelligence, specifically mimicking something that can be replicated by tech, robotics, whatever, computers. So, I mean, what do you think on that end? Do you think that there's tension between that? People are just like, oh, well, that's my job. You're coming after me because I do this, X, Y, Z. I just feel like that's a fallacy, but I don't know.
It is, so first of all, you ask a question of what kind of jobs is it displacing and replacing currently, and the fastest field that it's displacing and replacing and reimagining is anything to do with software engineering, development, coding. The message that's been going for decades of like, if you learn to code computers, you're going to have a job forever. Turns out not to be true.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that academia has said that's important turns out not to be true. We have to remember that we are in a capitalist society. Okay, we're in a Western society here in America. We're in a capitalist society. What happens? Maximizes towards efficiency, towards effectiveness, towards profitability. Mm-hmm. So if there's a way for an AI to increase the amount of output in a software engineer or a tech company, or iterate faster and fix bugs and code faster, then, oh man, the world is going that way, like insanely fast. There's half the number of job postings on Indeed and LinkedIn for engineering jobs as there was 18 months, 24 months ago. It should be clear too, I guess, at the onset of this discussion, Mo, that I don't want to conflate the problems with our economy with the introduction of AI into the society at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of blame is being placed on AI because it's an easy scapegoat. It can't defend itself, right? But politicians can. Poor leadership can, right? Bad economic policy can, be defended in some way. And there's this partisan approach to what's happening. So a bigger threat actually to the job market currently isn't AI. It's poor government. It's ineffective leadership. It's bad fiscal policy. It's corporations that value profit over people. Like these are the actual real threats to a lot of the jobs today. And I think that the AI is actually getting becoming a scapegoat right now. So a lot of the layoffs have to do with people are scared about bubbles and the market and what's happening. And we had the lowest, real estate number of transactions over the last couple of years we've had, since 2008. And these are not because of AI. This is not because of AI, just to be clear. So not all of it, at least not all the blame that's being placed there. So we should make sure that we're being very fair to where the blame is being placed, and not all of it is in this new technology called AI.
I would have to agree with you 1,000%. I believe that at any age, I truly believe that you can, I hate this word, I hate this term, reinvent yourself.
Oh, why? Why do you hate that word? What do you mean?
It's not that I hate it, I distrust it. Reinventing, I don't think you're reinventing. I think you're building upon something that was already once established, and and I truly believe that every day you are essentially creating a different version. Okay, so for sure.
Yeah.
Because who you were yesterday doesn't have to be who you are today. And over time, that compounds. And so you eventually create a completely different person. Truly believe that, 1,000%. So when people say, well, I'm too old to change a profession, I'm too old to adapt, I should be panicking, I'm 35, I'm 45, I'm 55, I'm 65, whatever. I don't believe in that. But I'm seeing a lot of fear mongering out in the interwebs. Mm-hmm. That, hey, I'm 40 years old and I have to learn this stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's disheartening, but it's also like,
well, fear sells, first of all.
Yeah, for sure.
We know that. And second of all, if they believe it to be true, it is true. And, you put two people side by side. I'm 51 now, man. I know a lot of 50-year-olds that are just, kind of coasting at the end of their life or not the end of life, I should say, in their careers, or in the later stages of their careers. I have a lot of friends now who are retired or retiring. I'm just firing back up again. So, if you're in the mode to coast, that's true, buddy,
Yeah.
So I also want to give people like all the agency in the world. If they believe it to be hard and believe this to be a terrible thing and believe this to be something that they don't want to deal with this phase of their life, then that's 100% true. Mm-hmm. Another person right next door to them say, oh my gosh, I get to reinvent myself. I get to change. I get to explore. I get to expand my mind. I get to stop doing the things that are just repetitive and boring I've done for the last 30 years, and I get to try something new. This is amazing. What an opportunity for me. Both of those things are true. Equally true. So, however you want to view it, I give you the full license to be able to view it that way. But at least make that choice intentionally. Don't make that choice because of the programming that you got when you were a kid. Don't make that choice because of the programming that your friend group is giving you or the social media feed is giving you, right? Or the BS fear-mongering on TV is giving you. Like, at least make it intentionally. If you want to be scared, but just do so because you're choosing to, not because you're be forced to. I don't know where that came from, but it felt good to say out loud.
No, it felt great. Yeah, I 1,000%. Otherwise, you kind of end up being in this rut, or you're just running on a hamster wheel, or you're just kind of waiting for the rest of your life to finish, which is, God, just that thought alone is daunting. In the, like I want to keep going until I don't have a breath in me. There's just no way. There has to be something that moves you every day. Otherwise, what are you doing? I don't know.
Yeah.
Everybody's different, I guess.
Not everyone's born that way, which is fine. We're talking about essentially this sort of pivot in society, this sort of pivot in its job markets, and that does require a pivot of perspective, a pivot of personal development, a pivot in skill development, and a willingness to do so. And so one of the currencies of the future is resourcefulness. Yeah, being resourceful with your skills, with your time, with your opportunities. Another currency of the future, I believe, just very clearly is creativity, looking at the world through a creative lens. I've said it since the last 3 years I've started this project. This isn't actually a technology revolution. This is a creativity revolution. You're able to solve problems in a new way. You're able to learn faster. And I'm solving problems using AI in a week that I wouldn't be able to do in years. I'm solving problems for teams and companies that have spent literally a decade on problems, and I'm able to work on it for a couple of weeks and come up with a great solution that they couldn't get to on their own. So it is definitely a wild time for sure. I don't want to underestimate that, but the opportunities haven't been bigger, brighter, or more diverse than now. I just haven't. In my 51 years, I've never seen another sort of opportunity like this. And we can talk about what's a bubble and what's not and all those things, Mo, but the fear mongering is because it just fucking sells. It gets clicks, it gets likes, and people are saying, "Oh, it's becoming conscious," and all these things. Of course, why not? What else is social media for? To get you time on app, get you to click and watch and share. So that's going to be a much easier sell than, "Hey, look at this opportunity that you can improve yourself and get new skills." And that's not going to get as many likes, clicks, and shares as like, "Oh my God, AI is taking your job." Like, what's going on? So just, that's an unfortunate side of the society, is the fear mongering does pay the bills.
What are the power dynamics? Like, who controls AI? This is a question that's been coming up in my research.
Dang.
Who becomes dependent on it and who controls it?
Okay, let's talk about what scares the shit out of me.
Yep.
I also haven't seen a more concentrated power than I have now in the hands of 4 or 5, 6, 10, men essentially.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is Elon, Sam Altman, so on and so forth, right? The heads of these AI companies are making a lot of decisions that will last a long time in terms of what's in these training models, what is morally right. Last couple of months ago, I was super disappointed. I had viewed Mark Zuckerberg and what he was doing with AI as I was really happy for the first time what Mark and Meta was doing with AI. They're open sourcing their models. He was really leading the charge of open source model quality, high quality, powerful open source models, allowing developers and business owners to use them as they needed. They could run them locally. They were great llama models. And then unfortunately, the memo got leaked internally of how they were viewing AI talking to children and what they were allowing, what kind of sexuality, romanticizing, things like this that they were allowing. And there was a 200-page memo in detail talking about what was allowed and what wasn't allowed. And if I had an 8-year-old daughter or a son and I saw that this company was intentionally allowing their AI chatbot to talk to my daughter or son like they are intentionally allowing, I would have just, felt like I did, honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
That's a power that is held in a private company, public company, but with the board, with a very small amount of people are making these sorts of decisions that impact hundreds of millions of families.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is something that does scare me. You do look at the decisions that are being made right now financially, where all the money's flowing and how many hundreds of billions of dollars are flowing in this little incestuous circle between NVIDIA and, Google and OpenAI and, to the server construction companies. And then they're reinvesting back in, the network. It's just this insidious little circle of money that's flowing around. And these companies are investing in each other's companies and they're buying products from each other in a way. They're just pushing money back and forth. That scares me, right? That's a fragile house of cards. That does scare me. And so if we want to talk about 2026 and if AI will cause a job market bubble, my answer is unequivocally yes, no matter if it does all of the things promised, then the displacement will be very real. Or if it flames out and doesn't do any things that promised, the displacement will be very real because we'll have an economic collapse. So either way, expect some turbulence in 2026 with the job market. Either way, okay? Directly because of the way the AI ecosystem is currently structured. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's replacing all the jobs and those sorts of things. It just means there's going to be a lot of change in 2026.
Do you feel like it's going to be taking a deflationary spiral or is it just going to be an adjustment?
The way the stock market is buoyed, much of the gain right now is buoyed by a very small sector of stocks, highly concentrated in this industry. That gives me concern. The consumer sentiment gives me concern because the way people feel is the way the economy responds. So they tighten their purses, tighten their wallets, spending slows down. That has a rippling effect in small business community, Main Street Americas. There's lots happening with the government right now. If you see the headlines with all this drama and politics and the Epstein files and all sorts of things, that is just such a unfortunate distraction from the things that we could be really focusing on. And if I were to point a direction that I wish that everybody was focused on, as was our topic last time we talked, and that was in education. Mm-hmm. If we want a bright future, We should be really focusing on the next generation of people that are going to usher in our bright future. And I don't see that emphasis being placed right now. And on top of this, if we're talking about things that actually do scare me, it is the race for superintelligence. I do understand the trillions of dollars being pumped in here because the country that wins that race is the dominant superpower of the world. Disregard how many nukes you have or how many planes you have or how big your military is. If you have superintelligence, you rule the world.
Yeah.
So the concentration of power, going back to the original statement here, the concentration of power, I can understand, right? Because we have this race that's going as fast as possible. But once that dust settles, I do hope that we have a kind of a dissemination of power more than we do right now.
I really appreciate you answering that question. I know it's can't always be easy, and I'm going to ask you a couple more hard questions.
Yeah, I hope people hear me. This is just one man's opinion. I tend to hold an optimistic view, but there are certain things that I look at. I'm like, okay, well, in order to get to that optimistic, future, we do have to get through these hurdles. So,
my question becomes, in this, whenever it becomes turbulent, if it is turbulent, 10, 15 years of chaos, 20 years of chaos, throughout this whole process, who gets hurt, and I guess how can those that don't get hit by this help those that do?
How do you define get hurt? Let's make sure that we're talking the same language here. How would you define
displaced? Yeah, displaced, kicked out of a career because they didn't go through with the times. And sometimes it's not just about an intelligence thing or a willingness to do things. Sometimes it's just socioeconomical. Sometimes it's just your hands are tied. You've got family. There's so many variables.
Geographic restrictions.
Yeah, like it's so hard to pinpoint something like that. And to say you're either one or the other is just, to me, it's just silly.
I heard this argument for displacement of jobs, and like, well, this is great. And they were using the example of a truck driver. And I said, well, if we replace truck drivers with autonomous driving and robots that can drive or whatever, that's great, because who wants to be a truck driver? Because their average lifespan is like 8 to 10 years lower because they get cancer on the left side of the body. They get, they vibrate. It is like they don't eat well. They're sedentary, and the lifestyle of a truck driver isn't that great. And so wouldn't that be great if we were able to give them a better job? I'm like, who's that for you to say that that's not a great job? Maybe somebody loves doing that job. Mm-hmm. Maybe they love the open road and the autonomy and the fresh air in their face. And so I don't take that stance of pretending that you should be better than your job in some way or above a job. Dude, I pick berries. I've done carpet cleaning, worked warehouses and like construction and cleanup jobs. Like, stuff needs to get done. And sometimes I just enjoy picking weeds. Like, who's to say you should be above something? So I don't want to take that stance at all. But I will say that if you were to generalize certain sort of jobs and you were to say, well, generally, is that good for a human being to do? Is that generally good for their soul? Is that generally good for their health? Is there generally going to be a better financial opportunity? Then yeah, there are some things I don't think is a terrible idea on a macro level that we offload to a robot, or you let an AI system run it for you. But at an individual level, I hope people really say, like, it's your freaking life. You love doing what you're doing, and AI is coming for your job. As long as you're really good at it, it's going to be hard for the AI to replace probably during your career. It really is. But if you don't care to be good, if you don't care to be great, if you don't bring extra value to your employer, to your customer, and they can replace you with AI, then that's just going to happen. No different. If you don't do a great job and I find a new carpet cleaner that better than my old one, I'm going to switch carpet cleaners, right? At some point in time. I have loyalty, and I like to have a good relationship and a long-term relationship, but at some point in time, you have to make a decision of what's best for you and your family. And so you switch vendors. That's just a normal course of business. And just the other option now is just AI in some cases. So, Mo, you asked who's at risk, and it's every white collar job, every white collar job, accounting, finance, coding, coaching, any sort of creative work, engineering, graphic design, education, all those are definitely on the for discussion of who's better at it. An AI system like Gemini 3 that just launched,
yeah, or
somebody that doesn't really care and just kind of goes through the motions every day. So that's my answer.
Real quick, because I don't want to distract too much from the general conversation. Just your 2 cents, 2 minutes, your thoughts on Gemini 3 versus 2.5 Pro.
So, it just came out yesterday. I played with it yesterday. It's awesome. And so we're going to be putting into Huzi here in the just next couple of days once I figure out the best applications for it and whatnot. But it's blowing all the benchmarks out of the water. It's the best single model so far ever built.
Really?
By far, in lots of ways, by almost every benchmark, by every independent.
In terms of like video, image creation, and writing?
All of it. Coding,
Really?
problem solving,
Really?
reasoning, math,
Wow.
science, creativity, image, video, all of it. The whole, like, as far as a model and a suite of tools and capabilities, the benchmarks are out of this world.
So right now you put that, I know it's a little preemptive here, but do you feel like right now it's sitting above OpenAI's ChatGPT?
Yeah, and they just launched 5.1, which was just a modest tweak from 5 in terms of warmed things up and made it feel a little bit more human of sorts, because 5 just really dove. I didn't like 5 except for coding and logical things. Most people didn't, by the way.
Yeah.
So they brought that back, but there's currently like ChatGPT and OpenAI have got no answer for Gemini 3 right now. And I've been betting on Google being the leader before they were even, really on the roadmap, when it was just all OpenAI, and then Claude was there, and then Grok was starting to make a little bit of traction. And I was betting on Google because they just have a different system. They actually have in-house research on top of AI scientists, right?
Yeah.
And so that sort of ecosystem that they have, and they're very data rich. They have a lot of access to data and capital. But yeah, I always bet on them just because of the way that they're structured and the resources they have to data and whatnot. And they were one of the first, just in the way that they have their server farm set up. They were one of the first ones to do water cooling. And I don't know, I just bet on them, and I think that was accurate. And now I think this model's light years ahead of anything that OpenAI has currently.
My desktop is water cooled. Does that make me cool?
You're damn cool. Look at you. You got those glasses. You got hair. I'm hella jealous of. So,
Oh man, don't let this hair fool you. I lift it up. It's just straw.
well, at least you got something to lift up.
Let's go to Turkey and go get a hair transplant, you and I.
Yeah, that's right. I've been there once before, but
Oh, you've done it once?
not for hair. Yeah, I
Oh,
actually
not for hair, yeah.
Remax hired me way back in the day when they were opening Remax Turkey. I'm at the master franchise holder in Fiji, and we were just chatting one night, and he hired me. I went over there for 2 weeks, and he traveled me around. I did all this coaching and training for how to recruit, how to run a brokerage, and
Amazing.
all that kind of stuff. Yeah, all around Turkey. It was really cool.
Yeah, Turkey. I haven't been, but I've been wanting to go.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
My brother-in-law always joked that we're going to go get our hand transplants there one day.
Totally.
It's so cheap, like in retrospect, like what you get for what you're paying for, like the whole entire experience.
Oh yeah, Meta knows that my age and all that stuff because I see Turkey hair transplant ads all the freaking time now. It's hilarious, suckers.
All right. Let's see. What was I going to ask you? I had completely lost. All right. I kind of want to dive in just a little bit of the micro to kind of end things here. I know we're at the precipice, but there's this question: upskilling versus reskilling. What's the difference, and which do you specifically think that you need in terms of the technological revolution, the AI revolution?
Upskilling versus reskilling.
Mm-hmm.
Upskilling has to happen first for everybody, and ultimately, I believe that is good for the consumer. Any knowledge-based service industry, medical, legal, finance, real estate, mortgage, like any upskilling that's done is going to be great for the consumer. So I'm a big fan of upskilling. Reskilling, the other interesting thing about this technology, that when there was other sort of displacement sort of technology, let's just use the car, or let's just use the industrial revolution as an easy placeholder here. The internet, the thing that was a challenge for reskilling is that it required teachers and courses and all sorts of like AI can now be the ultimate reskiller. So it's fascinating that the technology that can require a reskill to be necessary can also be the thing that helps you get reskilled faster than ever. Right? So you can use AI now if you need to reskill from one transition to another or one skill set to another. Wow, I've never seen a better teacher, than like a Huzi. Like I make myself a canvas with whatever I need to learn, and I have an immersive tutor available right there that as much as I'm willing, it's all day, every day, 24/7, ready to teach me and inform me and help me and guide me. So the upskilling and reskilling transition, I think, should be easier than ever before that we've ever had as far as a society goes, because the same technology that requires one can actually help you do the other.
Love it. I'm going to go a little sci-fi here because it's
Do it.
So it's the year 2045, right?
Okay.
And if at this point, let's say AI created true abundance, does everyone still need to work? And if they do, what does the social structure look like? Are we looking more of a utopia? Is it more of a dystopia? I kind of always see things in a dystopian nature. Maybe
Yeah.
that's just because I favor those types of films and
Yeah.
storylines.
They're so fun.
Cyberpunk.
Vision yourself with a crossbow out there.
Literally.
Fighting the,
Yeah.
the zombie coyotes. Or
Shot
whatever.
to the heart, but
Yeah.
I mean, just walking to, yeah.
I hear you.
Because like, if
You are
AI
legend,
liberates
by the way.
What's that?
You are legend, by the way. Yeah. Mo
Yeah.
is legend.
I appreciate it. If AI liberates us from the mundane work,
Okay.
right, and humanity is now at a point where it's flourishing. I mean, if you look at sci-fi films like Star Trek or Star Wars or whatever, there's really, you're not getting paid in coin. You're not getting paid in dollar and cents. Your level of acumen and what do you call it? Position is the thing that creates more opportunity for you. So moving up from infantryman to like a whatever, I don't know the rankings there, you get more access to things. You're not being paid in that sense. So do you think we get to a point where, because AI has removed that stigma, we're no longer a capitalist society, we're not authoritarian, we're not
Communist, socialist, whatever.
communist, socialist, yeah, like
So I've got a weird prediction on that. But first of all, let's talk about what people are generally saying. Generally, people are saying that, well, there'll be some sort of UBI, some sort of universal basic income.
I was just about to mention that next. Yep.
Generally, people are saying, well, how is that funded? Well, we'll tax the labor of the robots, tax the labor of the AI, and then the taxes generated from the AI doing the work will be the funding that we use to give the people to not have to work for the basic, living. I don't know. I look at this differently. Before we get into that, I would give my weird prediction in terms of what's the currency of the future. I woke up from a dream about 2 years ago, and I just couldn't get out of my head that I was thinking about, well, what is the currency of the future? If it's not fiat currency, it's not gold. What is it? An apple? What is it? Bananas? What is it? Art? Human companionship. What is the currency of the future? For some reason, I couldn't get out of my mind that the currency of the future is actually compute.
What do you mean by that? Like your station?
No, compute being the actual compute power necessary to run your AI life, your AI powered life. So the more compute you have, the more powerful you are. So if you can imagine this, like let's say if I have 5 AI assistants that are mowing my grass and taking care of my kids and cleaning and cooking for me and all those sorts of things, that takes a level of compute power. Silicon chips currently, the way it's configured now, it takes compute to run those things. The more compute you have, the more powerful you have, the more powerful you are. Not just to run your physical robots, but the more compute you are, the more processing you can to run your business on, right? The more tokens you use to run your business on. If we use a common technology that people are used to, like you buy AI video and you buy AI images and those tokens that you use, right? So if you think of like the amount of tokens that you use, that's power. The more tokens you have, the more compute you have, the more powerful you are in this world. You have more intelligence, more robots, more power, more bigger robot army. You have the bigger ability to influence or crack encryptions, right? Or solve problems or produce content, whatever it is. The more compute you have, the more powerful you are. So for some reason, I just think that there's a line. I can see a line in some sort of currency that the more compute you have, the more powerful you are, and then that's like a form of currency. Is kind of a weird production I've never heard anybody say before, but it feels like an interesting thought experiment to explore.
So how do you generate more of the compute power?
Well, I think you have to like earn it in some way, right?
Got it.
So that becomes your currency.
I like that much better than universal basic income, because I just think that having an opportunity for those that perhaps have the willingness to do a little more is a much more societal outcome. You
and me are programmed too, Mo, and everyone's listening to this is programmed, and we think that there's value in production, there's value in doing things, producing things, and making things, and learning things, and whatnot. And there's lots of other civilizations that think that a day just spent literally sitting, staring at a leaf is equally productive to somebody that writes a book, or equally as productive as somebody that invents the light bulb, right? And so we just had this weird, twisted program view of what it means to spend your day. Spend your day could be I just sit and pet my dog all day, and who's to say that that's just not as valuable time as creating a new website like I just created this morning. So I think that we should do some self-reflection. This is why I believe that the thing to be focused on right now is personal development.
Yeah.
Your spiritual development, your personal development, your relationship with self. If you don't have the ability not to be bored, it's going to be a really weird transition. If you don't have the ability to not be with yourself, it's going to be really difficult. If you don't have the ability to understand that you're worth more than what you do for your job, it's going to be difficult in the future. So, really grounding, reflecting, personal development and growth should be the thing that people are really focused on. Because if you don't know who you are, how do you know what you want to do next?
1,000%.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it took me years, and this is silly, years to not feel guilty taking because I've been working from home for a long time, taking like a 20, 30-minute midday nap when I absolutely need it. When in reality, what ended up happening when I didn't, production was just down. I didn't get anything done. I was just half asleep at my desk.
Yeah.
And then the times that I would take a 20-minute nap, I was refreshed. I was ready to rock and roll. And I had another 4 hours to 6 hours of really, high value production for whatever it is that I was working on. Just silly things like that you say, like, yeah, we're programmed. So yeah, I agree with you 1,000%.
Yeah.
Silly things like that.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I think, it's easy. It would be easy for me to say like, oh, well, then this is how you would spend your day and all these sorts of things. I think now is a great time to reevaluate some of the way that we've been brought up and taught in school and taught by our parents and our leaders in society and things like that. And I think a lot of people are kind of waking up to that fact.
Look at the French. It's illegal to work on the weekends, and you have mandatory long lunches, at least for smaller companies. Not so much for like the larger corporations, but they value what it is that they say is that the Americans live to work, but the French work to live.
Yeah. And I think that's an interesting thing that we could learn from just in general and expand our worldview a little bit of what does it mean to spend your day and what's a valuable way to spend your day.
I think that's why it's so great to immerse yourself if you have the capability to do so in so many different cultures. Like I think the one thing that would be amazing if everybody in the world had the opportunity is to travel to all countries and experience all cultures, be able to immerse yourself in that, to be able to take a little bit from everything and apply that to your life. There's nothing like it, man.
I don't think that there is, but at the same time, travel to all parts of your mind. Yeah. Travel to all parts of your current community that you live in, and you just take it for granted. You haven't walked down that trail or seen that little waterfall that you've never visited, or that little art gallery.
So true. Man.
There's these gems in our mind. There's these gems in our houses. There's these gems in our community, right within walking distance that we take for granted. We think we got to go somewhere else to experience this thing, and if you take the old you there, it's going to be the same sort of experience. So, yes, I agree with you completely. I believe in world traveling and exposing yourself to other cultures and societies and experiences, but there is something that may come before that for a lot of people too.
1,000%. A friend of mine just posted a couple days ago videos and images of the Portland Art Gallery, or the Portland Art Museum, and I'm like,
Portland Art Museum, yeah, it's beautiful.
I think I've been there once.
Yeah, there you
in
go.
My entire life, you know what I mean? I'm like, this is spectacular. Yep. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I need to go, so I'm planning on going.
And where we are, man, we're just 40 minutes from the Gorge, a world-class outdoor experience. And how many times you go there? Yeah,
I know.
And people come from all over the world to go to the Gorge.
Yep. Yeah.
So it just that's kind of my point with that.
No.
Is that there's,
and I appreciate you reminding me.
Yeah, the law of familiarity is a real thing.
It is. Yep. All right, let's wrap up with the rapid fire here.
I love the lightning round. Okay.
And I'll take you.
Hit me.
I'll take you to it. Okay. So, first question: will AI take your job?
Yeah. And in fact, I was thinking about this last night when like the mantra right now is, AI won't take your job, but a competitor using AI will. That's bullshit. No, AI will full on take your job as well. The AI powered consumer is a real threat, but it's not that your boss is going to replace you with AI. Is that the person, the consumer, just doesn't need that company, possibly, right?
Yeah.
And that's not something currently talked about. I'll give you an example. This isn't a lightning round answer, but I think this is something we should explore a little bit. I was on ChatGPT last night acting like I was a home buyer, and I wasn't asking questions that agents hope that they ask, like, I need to list my house. What agent should I hire? Give me a list of agents, that sort of thing. I was just acting like a home buyer using ChatGPT, and it never recommended an agent. It never even suggested that I need an agent. It suggested I need a loan, and it suggested I look at schools, and it offered to help me look at schools, and it offered to help me find houses on Zillow, and it offered to help me figure out the best ones. It offered to help me set up a safe search. It offered to help me, like alert me when a new listing hit the market. It offered to do all of the things that the real estate agent should be doing, and never once said, "Oh, you should use a real estate agent."
That's wild.
Okay, so
Not
it's
surprising, though.
it's a stupid thing to fall into these cliches. Yeah, AI will 100% take your job if you let it. And every single person now essentially has an intern on every topic in their pocket. An intern level thing. They have all the education, but none of the experience, none of the real world experience. All the education, none of the wisdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the expert using AI should use AI better than the consumer. So you actually can be better than the consumer in any job, even if they have AI, because you are the expert in the topic.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how to ask, what to ask for. You know if the AI is not quite giving you the right answer or an incomplete answer, which is just as dangerous. So the adage that people are talking about, AI won't take your job, but your competitor will, is just bullshit. AI will absolutely take your job if you're not better than the AI, for sure, especially in a knowledge-based service industry.
Okay, there wasn't initially in my rapid fire, but I'm going to ask it. What if the AI becomes the expert and you no longer need to be an expert in order to ask it the proper questions? It just knows automatically because it's so freaking smart.
Yeah, and like Gemini 3 has got like twinges of
Yeah.
that for lots of things.
Mhm.
That's a real reasonable answer. However, we need to understand that the current iterations of AIs we're talking about are large language models. These are not truth machines. These are pattern machines.
Ooh, repeat that, please. These are not
Yeah.
truth machines. These are pattern machines.
Yeah. It's not grounded in truth. It doesn't have the soul, the consciousness, the 3D experience of truth. It doesn't even have, that's not even the way these things are designed. They're not designed to
No.
be truth
So you
machines.
don't think they ever will?
There's an element of me that until you integrate, AI like LLM, and let's just use sloppy technical terminology with quantum computing in some way, until you have an integration there, until you elevate and extend from a silicon tech stack that includes some sort of biological tech stack integration, that this will be a problem, because hallucinations are creativity. And when it gives you an answer that feels new and novel, you call it creative. When it gives you an answer that's new and novel, but you don't think it's true, you call it hallucination. It's the same thing happening behind the scenes. We just anthropomorphize it. So it's just important to recognize the technology is what it is. It's a large language model that's grounded in patterns, not truth.
I think that's such an important distinction. God, that's such an important distinction. Okay. Would you rather manage humans or AI?
Oh, jeez, Louise.
Throw in a silly one.
No, I that's like a really. I want to give a real honest answer. I love working with both. I actually look forward to working with both daily. But you asked manage. Would I rather manage? The way I manage, I guess, is not typical because I don't manage. I try and like empower,
Mm-hmm.
and so I end up managing AI and empowering people. And I generally think that's a better way to work. It's if you really want somebody to flourish that you're working with, and you're a manager of them, the managing them isn't the best way to do it. It's empowering them, giving the best tools and training to get out of their way. So I think that there needs to be two different skill sets. Working with people, managing people, quote unquote, to use that term, and managing AI are really two different skill sets. And I think that you should get really good at both.
Fantastic. Yeah, I completely wholeheartedly agree with you. And I think that's one of your attributes that have made you so successful in life is because of how you treat people in all regard.
Success is relative. I want to have a different level of success here for everybody I'm working with. Yeah, this is why we're doing this thing, baby. It's like we got this time. Let's really get after it.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
All right. Two more questions. Will your kids have traditional careers? Do you think they will?
No. The future is fractional, first of all.
Yep.
The future is fractional. And so I think, working, especially for decades, for a single company is kind of a thing of the past in general. I think that there's a horizontal nature to things. And, my son or daughter will be able to do things, just simply the structure of it will be differently. And there'll be less centralization in every industry and more of a fractured approach. So I don't think, as we look at it as traditional, no, I don't think that they will.
Okay. Last question. Bigger impact on work. Do you feel it was the Industrial Revolution, or do you feel it's the AI revolution?
AI, hands down, no questions asked. And that's it's one of those things that when you're in the moment, I didn't live through the Industrial Revolution. I'm a benefactor of
the Industrial Revolution.
I've studied it, but in terms of the exponential impact, the rapid pace of change, the widespread, immediate impact, both positive and negative, hands down, it's AI. Not even a close call, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, yes. But also at the same token, like, you weren't part of it. You also were I guess we all were in some aspect created from it, right? In essence.
That's the interesting part. I don't want to go too deep in this for the sake of it's supposed to be a lightning round, but
I know
you can't actually separate one from the other. People ask that question. They want to debate this thing. You cannot separate one from the other because one happened for the other one to happen.
Yeah.
So they're literally cousins and sisters and mothers and daughters of each other. They're not two separate events. It's one continuous event. And that's my really super honest, deep answer, is that I don't even like thinking about it that way. But just if I were to frame it in two different containers and you give them two separate metrics, and you evaluate it from that standpoint, yes, my first answer stands true. That's not the reality.
Yeah, it's like a continuous time loop that is moving forward.
They are one and the same in truth. Yeah.
Cool. Well, listen, we've covered a lot. I think someone listening to this on their commute, walking into work tomorrow, maybe their mindset shifted just a little bit. I'm happy. I'm hoping that this will either bring some solace or some peace of mind. Maybe it also brings about a little bit of anxiety, and that triggers a new level of willpower, motivation. But I just want to make sure that people synthesize this information and take it with a grain of salt. This is two men's opinions, but also understand that the opinion of this man is coming from someone that is in the trenches and doing this every day, living this life, and do take the little bits with a grain of salt, but also understand that he has some value. And I really hope that you're able to implement some of the information that he sent into your daily life. And we're really excited to have you on our next episode next week, which is going to be pretty freaking awesome, Eric. I'm really, really stoked because we're going to start talking about compliance. We're talking about a little bit of legal stuff, like where things can be a little bit duplicitous, perhaps, maybe a little bit of gray.
I want to end with one thing that, I'm interested in truth. I'm not interested in being right. And so email me if you think I said something that's right or wrong, eric@huzi.ai, or comment on the social post where you see any of these clips, because this is a thing that I'm posting opinions and having these conversations because I'm in search of the truth. And so if you have a new perspective or something additional to add, share it, man, because we're all here to make sure that this is as smooth of a transition as possible.
I love it. Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you, everybody, for listening, watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.
See ya.